You know, Steve, it really saddens me to think nothing really changes throughout history.
Wow, that suddenly came out of the blue. What do you mean?
Look at the world. When has there been a time when we really feel secure and are optimistic about the future? There is always something to make us feel worried.
Really? What are you worried about?
Where shall I begin?
At the beginning, please.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do you think we are in an economic recovery?
Yes. When I read the papers, there appears to be optimistic news. The GDP is rising and unemployment is falling, and just look at the stock markets rising.
On the face of it, from what we have been told by the mainstream media, everything is rosy in the garden, but you have to do your own research to find out what is really going on.
Can you provide examples?
Have you seen the film Pinocchio?
It was a long time ago. I enjoyed the film.
Do you remember when Pinocchio went to Toyland with the other children and enjoyed himself for 4 months? Then one day woke up only to find he had become a donkey, then sold off to a circus.
Hey Scott, all very interesting, but what are you getting at?
I suppose what I am trying to say is that, we are conned. The people that have the power do not tell the whole truth. They paint a rosy picture until such time they have us in their grip.
Come on Scott, that is a very cynical view. Surely our leaders have integrity.
Maybe some did. For example, I am sure that there have been politicians that genuinely wanted to improve the lives of the population, only to find that they came up against a brick wall of corruption. In the end, many become corrupt themselves. There is a true saying, and it is this: power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Wow Scott, you really seem down.
I feel helpless, Steve. I know the system is corrupt, and I cannot do anything about it. I feel so insignificant. There is another true saying: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. You see, Steve, many good people just don't know what is going on, and when they do, it will be too late.
Scott, you are beginning to make me feel depressed. Can you lighten up?
Steve, I am just telling you as it is. What is the point in pretending that everything is okay? Do you know what is deficit spending is?
No. Should I?
Every month, the government spend more than they receive in taxes. It simply has become a way of life. Few people seem to be concerned about it.
I am not concerned. I have heard you worrying about an economic collapse for years, and it simply has not happened. Scott, I think you worry too much.
Steve, I don't think you worry enough. The US have abandoned the debt ceiling. The US are still continuing with quantitative easing. The US have ultra-low interest rates. The US...
I get the message. Wow Scott, you are depressing me. Shall I get the rope now?
Steve, you are a great guy, but you suffer from normalcy bias.
What on earth are you talking about?
Normalcy bias does not prepare you for difficulties ahead, as the experiences you had in the past, you expect them to continue into the future. I really wish I could hit home to people about the tough times ahead.
And what exactly do you see ahead?
Okay, this is how I think matters will pan out. Stock markets in the short term will be erratic, but the trend upwards in the short term. Gold prices will also be erratic. However, in the short term the trend is downwards as people start to build that we are in a recovery. The ECB will commence quantitative easing, further debasing the currency.
Hey Scott, things will pan out. They always do.
There you go. That's your normalcy bias kicking in. My research suggests that we have never been so over-leveraged globally before, and when the economic collapse happens it will be severe. Now then, I don't know when the collapse will happen, but mathematically it is a certainty. Get ready for tough times ahead. Your standard of living will fall and a more draconian government will be the norm.
Okay Scott, you have told us the problem. What is the solution?
Okay, this is what should happen, but it won't. Politicians should be honest with the fickle public and explain the true dire nature of the public finances. They should admit that the tipping point happened many years ago and that a recovery will not happen until we exit from the greatest depression ever. They should tell us that we cannot spend our way out of the problem, as far too much debt has already occurred. The alternative is true austerity, not the pretend austerity we are experiencing at the moment. In the UK, the Conservatives state that they have applied austerity measures, but the truth is, they have only prevented the rate of increase of deficit spending. A true recovery will only happen when we attempt to balance the books, and then attempt to run a surplus to reduce the crippling debt. You see, Steve, that is the true reality of the situation, but people just don't get it.
Holy bananas, we are truly in the